All right. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the fifth live airing of Conversations with Cal, a series by the U.S. Department of Education's Office of Small and Disadvantaged Business Utilization. We are very excited to have you all here today, and thank you so much for attending. My name is Gabriella, and I'm a small business specialist here in the OSDBU. I do want to make a few comments before I introduce my boss, who will then introduce today's guest. Firstly, you will notice that if you're not a presenter for this event, both your microphone and camera should be muted and cannot be muted unless done so by me. Sometimes there's a glitch, so if you could make your best effort to not turn on either of those things, it would be greatly appreciated. Conversations with Cal is recorded and will hopefully later be uploaded to our website. In the interest of time, there will be no question and answer session today. However, we do still want your feedback. So if you have any questions about topics you want to hear more about, or specific questions you'd like answered in a future session, or even individuals you'd like to hear from as a small business, feel free to shoot us an email at small.business@ed.gov. That is our email address for any questions you might have. And we'll be happy to consider the content for this series. Please do keep in mind that all iterations of this series will be interview-based in nature. You may submit questions throughout the chat during the event, but we may or may not present them based on timing and flow. Questions that aren't answered today may be answered in a follow-up event or privately. Now that you have a better understanding of how this project is going to run, I would like to introduce you all to my boss, Mr. Calvin Mitchell Jr., or Cal. Take it away, Cal.
Hey, how you doing, everyone? Thank you for joining this extremely exciting event. Gabby kind of broke it down a little bit, but just to kind of give you the gist of what you're going to be expecting today. One, you got this ravishing gentleman here, Mr. Melton, that's going to tell you all the secrets to life. No, seriously, we put this together really to try to provide a different type of insight to small businesses. Oftentimes, small businesses wonder how you get started, what's the best way to grow your business, how they got to how do you get to become a major player in government contracting? How do you do it? And the answer is, when I did the inventory, we don't have those ideas. We don't have that experience. So I turned to industry and I saw an opportunity. It all came from a listening on the radio on my way home from playing basketball, this podcast called How I Built That with Guy Raz. And he interviews all these CEOs and real thought leaders and learns about how they built something from ground up. And that's what you guys are doing every day, right? Every day, you're building something from the ground up. You're learning, you're building, you're adding to your base, you're building communities, you're doing so much. So I said, hey, why don't we do something like this in a federal government space, free of charge, but I might add. And I thought it might be a really cool way for us to really connect success and some lessons learned with the jobs that you guys do every day as small businesses. And maybe you are someone who's thinking about small business and you're thinking about federal contracting and you're thinking about how to make that leap. I wanted there to be a place for you as well. So without further ado, I want to introduce Mr. Melton, otherwise known as Larry to me. But I want you to see, I just want to give you the rundown. This is a really cool guy. He and I share a similar background in ways. We both were in GSA, but he's the CEO and president of Building People. Now, he's got over 25 years of executive experience. He established a company in 2013 and found success pretty quickly. He's a recognized expert in facilities management, asset management, and he's on a bunch of boards and associations. I think I would probably bore you if I told you all of his accolades. But here's something that I really want to hone in on. The Building People company experienced triple-digit growth in each of the last 6 years. While growing the company to over 200 employees in over 30 states, delivering over $40 million in professional services across 25 organizations. I want to give you a little background, though. So he wasn't always a CEO. I said 2013 he started his company, only 8 years, and he's had this tremendous growth. What was he doing before that? He was a federal executive like myself. He spent 21 years in federal service. He was assistant commissioner of Office of Facilities Management, which is the public building service side, if you're familiar with GSA. And there he managed all of the land, federal properties in the DC area. He had a lot of other opportunities while he was at GSA, working in the White House complex, and he had some management experience at managing different buildings all over the DC area, and he hails from Virginia. He had what I really loved the most about his story, that he's a Virginia guy through and through. He graduated from George Mason, and he's got his master's at Central Michigan. And Central Michigan, isn't that the Chippewas? Is that where Antonio Brown went?
It is. I know Antonio Brown.
So he's went to George Mason. He was in the Loudoun County, right? Loudoun County
Right.
Loudoun County area. Built his company in the Loudoun County area. So you talk about someone who's really able to give back to the community in which he's grown up and lived for several years. This is what he's been able to do. And so without further ado, give a virtual hand clap to Larry Melton. Larry, welcome aboard to Conversations with Cal.
Thanks, Cal. Glad to be here. And first and foremost, thanks for having me. That was a heck of an introduction. It took you like 4 minutes to do that. I didn't know I was that popular, but thanks.
Hey, when you come on the show here, I try to make sure that I really amp you up and I really pump you up, so that way you get excited. It's like the start of a basketball game, right? Except I can't turn off the lights and have the lights flashing. So this is the best way I can do, is give you this kind of introduction.
Yeah, appreciate it. You nailed it.
So family man, and you've been living in the Loudoun County area for how long?
Yeah, Cal, live, work, and play in Loudoun County, and you alluded to it. So been there 22 years in Loudoun County, and was doing that, like a lot of us, doing that commute around the Beltway from Loudoun County to DC every day as a federal employee. I did that commute for 24 years. I know 24 years I did that federal commute, long distance, and a lot of people do it, right? 450 federal employees across the Beltway. We're all cramming into the city, in and out, trying to, make a living. And I knew I wanted, when I started the business, I wanted to live, work, and play in my backyard. I wanted to figure out how to, my family was here. I wanted to have an office right down the street, but I wanted to make sure I could make an impact in the community. And, so far, knock on wood, it has been a blessing. Everything's worked out pretty well. So Leesburg is home to our headquarters here. We have a 25,000 square foot building now. We occupy about 8,000 square feet here in headquarters. And I'm proud to say there's about 30 to 40 employees who are assigned here at headquarters, at our headquarters office now. Our headquarters has grown almost triple in the last 18 months. I got a stat this morning, and I was prepping for this interview. Interestingly enough, we grew by 100 employees in the last 12 months. So we're almost up to 300. I know the stat we gave you was over 200 employees. Today, we're almost 280 plus employees. So just shy of 300, off to the races. And the thing that remains really cool about our business is that we're still in Leesburg. We're in a HUBZone, and we remain HUBZone certified for the last 6 years. So sustaining, maintaining, but while we're growing. So it's good to be here.
Fantastic. Yeah, and I liked when we first talked, you talked about how you were able to really start the business where you lived. And look, I'm still making that commute, right? And I understand the hustle and bustle, but let's kind of start from page one. So help me understand. So you graduated from George Mason, then you immediately got a job with GSA, right?
I did. Right out of college, I was, I actually was a co-op student and intern through college, graduated in like a lot of awesome federal programs in the early 90s. Went through a management intern program, graduated and went right into that intern program. I meant what I said, and there's now we're on record, and of course earlier when you and I were talking last week to prep for this, I meant what I said. I grew up in GSA, and the federal government was instrumental in setting the foundation for who I became and what I learned from a technical aptitude, right? That technical training, education, and opportunity you're given. I don't think a lot of our younger workforce really gets to experience what folks like myself got to experience from a training development, executive leadership standpoint. It was unbelievable. So went through a very rapid intern program, started at the GS5 level and worked my way up to the GS12, graduating from that management intern program, and then threw me right in the trenches, right in the management ranks. And, you mentioned managing buildings in DC. The front end of my career was managing buildings up and down Pennsylvania Avenue. From, right around the Ronald Reagan building all the way down to the federal courthouses in DC, Maryland, and Virginia. And very fortunately in 2001, I got a short stint, designed to be a short stint, but it was 5 years at the White House complex from 2001 to 2006. And again, you look back and those were the foundational pieces that not only taught you hard work ethic, and the technical training you needed to become, well, let's just say it, the best of the best in facilities management, right? You got to be credible. Well, I couldn't have thought of a better federal career that gave me the credibility to do what I'm doing today. And I think that's something that the younger generation, I would say, and I think I mentioned to you before, is if you want to go do something and do it really well, be credible in whatever that is. And I will say the federal government and GSA gave me the ability to be credible. That set the foundation for me to say, all right, now how do I turn that technical aptitude into an entrepreneurial spirit, right? And it wasn't easy, but if it was easy, everybody would do it, right?
So help me explain. I mean, you ascend to the ranks of where we are, right? Executive service is the pinnacle of the federal career, right?
Yeah.
You're locked in. Very, very high visibility position over public building services at GSA, and something's wrong. How did you decide to leave a very comfortable job that you get decent bonuses? I mean, you get flexibility. What happened that made you say, you know what, Larry, this isn't what I want to do, and I want to do something different?
Yeah. I think two major things, Cal. Is like the most important piece was, I had the technical aptitude, but I also realized I had a passion. And my passion was really that facilities management, the real estate, the energy, the smart building stuff that I was working on then. And I really liked doing it. As an executive, what I found was, sometimes you get caught in the minutia, especially in Washington, D.C. as a senior executive. You get caught in the having to answer and going to do things that seem like they're not making a bigger impact on the bigger picture. And things that I missed working with the small business community. I missed working with a global set of customers to really solve the problems in the real estate and facilities world. And I realized that was where my passion was. That is what was exciting me, was the ability to go in and solve the complex problems for the customers. And I loved my senior executive career. It was unbelievable. The leadership capability, I think, readied me for the CEO level, and an ability to lead big teams and grow teams and get people to jump on the bus and believe in you. And let's be real, people have choices. And I think two things. Number one, you got to be credible. Number two, you got to be a good leader. And that's the one thing that I constantly have to focus on, is what did I learn as a leader during those executive rants that I can turn into the entrepreneurial spin, right? And that's, again, not easy. So the real trigger point for me was when I literally woke up one day and I'm realizing that I wasn't that happy. I had a great job. I had great benefits, and you have all the luxuries of a federal employee. But I also thought to myself, you live once, and I really wanted to give this thing a shot. And I wanted to try to do something to see if I could find my passion. So while I was struggling to figure out my why and what I was doing and why I was doing it, I really had to reflect and say, who am I? What am I doing? And what am I really good at? And I realized, in my words, I like to say, I'm a connector creator. I love people. I love connecting people, and I love to see people grow. The question was, how do I do that while I get into the facilities management business and grow a business that is filled with passion? So fast forward 2013, I said, I want to build a company that people want to work at, not have to work at. I want to build a company that built on credibility. People who love either I'll just say the building business, the energy business, the sustainability, the workplace, that love doing this stuff. And some people are cut out for it. Some people say, oh, that's wonky, and I don't even understand. What does a facilities manager do? What does a building manager do? And how fun can that be? But, I love it. It excites me. And, that's the most important component of it.
So you got this great job. I mean, you got a great job. You got a great gig. I mean, your career seemed pretty stable. What did your family say when you said, hey, I'm not going to do this anymore and I'm going to start something new? Did they try to commit you? Like, what happened?
Yeah.
How did it go?
I think, that's a great question. I think most of my immediate family, thought I needed to be checked in and I'd lost my mind. And what was I thinking? Who walks away from a federal career? You don't do this. You have great benefits. You have leave. It's secure. It's safe, right? But again, going back to my passion, I was very fortunate that my spouse, my wife, was very supportive. She saw the passion. She saw where my drive was. And I remember very vividly, and I tell this story often to our employees and people who are starting businesses, that you've got to have a network and your family has to be supportive. And if you don't have that, you have your back against the wall already on day one. And I did not. I had the world of support from my wife. She was unbelievable. And I remember her saying vividly, as I got in the car one day, very, very miserable. And she said, I'd rather you quit and us be poor than to deal with this. So you got to just quit. Lo and behold,
Wow.
6 to 8 week period, life changed. And
Wow.
I remember walking in saying, that's it. I had a couple of life events that were changing for me personally. And I just said, you know what, now's the time. So made the jump. And Cal, no regrets. I always say, people say, do you regret, or do you have any regrets, or you look back and would have done things differently? And I say, gosh, if I knew then what I knew now, I would have probably not done it, because this is scary, right?
Right.
Running a large business, 300 employees, is super complex and scary.
Right.
But because I know now what I didn't know then, I wish I'd have done it sooner, but it all worked out just fine, right? Because I don't think any earlier I would have had either the credibility or the real understanding of what the industry problems were facing facilities, real estate, energy, and smart buildings community. So I always say it happened for a reason when it happened, and it all worked out just right. I was ready in 2013, and it worked out just fine.
Wow. Yeah, and I'm sure there's some folks that are on the call and are just thinking about what life is happening. Because let's be honest, right? Like, if you're not happy where you are, right, you have to jump, right? And a lot of times we don't jump because we're afraid, right? And we're comfortable. And because of those two things, we stand on the ledge, right? And I sometimes say we're unafraid to we're too afraid to jump into our blessing, right? We're too afraid to jump into what our passion is, what makes us happy, and we're too afraid to do that because we're too shackled, if you will, or saddled by fear and comfort. So I really appreciate you sharing that. But
Yeah.
It sounds like a natural fit for you is to do what you were doing before, right? So you started your business, and it first started with facilities, right?
It did. Yeah, we started in what we call, we have the 3 pillars, and we can talk about that in a little bit: the technology, the buildings, and the people. But the buildings pillar, as we call it, the facilities business and the facilities operational excellence, and how can I help other building owners, occupiers operate their buildings better? And one of the things was, I talked about credibility, coming out with credibility. So I had a knowledge, I had a technical aptitude. Question is, can you do something with it? Are you credible in the market, right? Whatever your credibility is, are you credible to the industry or the other people who you walked away from? So in knowing that I had the credibility, let's be real. So I walk out, as you said, I was an executive. I had a great career. I was a known commodity in the facilities management circles, which is all great. Doesn't mean people were going to buy anything from me. And yeah, you're Larry Incorporated, but here I was. I tagged myself with a company that I just started called The Building People. I had a website. It was off and running, and all of a sudden I expected people will call The Building People. Oh,
Right.
yeah, not quite. So I really, what I had, Cal, was really, I'll say in the first 2 years of business, I had an identity problem. How do you transform your brand from Larry Incorporated, what I was as an individual and a known commodity with a credible background? How do I transform that to a brand of The Building People, right?
Wow.
So I had to get people to subscribe to buying The Building People, not Larry. Now, they were one and the same, but the reality was I had to change that brand mindset, right? You weren't buying me, you were buying a company that I was trying to build with the reputation and the credibility that I had built. That was the hardest part, because a lot of times when you're small and you have to be billable and you're paying attention to your billable hours because you got to make money and make a living. The reality is you sit there and you say, well, I've got to be billable, but they want Larry, and everybody wanted me on the project. I said, how do I get out of that very quickly and build a team of credible forces around me that build equal credibility, right? That's hard. That's really hard. In the world of small business, we call that becoming unbillable. And when do you do that? That's a whole nother chapter in small business, right? That's a whole different.
Hey Larry, let me pause right here. So you're starting this company. People know you, right? And they know that the expertise you have. And so you're thinking, hey, I'm going to go straight into federal contracting. Is that correct? I'm going to go straight into federal contracting. But it sounded like you were really disciplined in your focus area, right? And that had to take a tremendous amount of courage, because I see a lot of small businesses that do everything from build boats to build exercise equipment. I'm like, wait, how do you do everything well, right? Can you talk a little bit about that and how you kind of how you kind of fell on that decision?
Yeah, Cal, that's a great question, because the reality was I looked at my resume, I looked at my career, I looked at what did I do? Well, how do I transform credibility into a marketing plan, right? So I knew real estate, I knew workplace, I knew energy sustainability, I knew smart buildings, I knew facilities management and operation, I knew how to run buildings, and I knew how to deal with people. Okay, great. Now, how do I sell that, right? So for every single time I turn around, first you fake it till you make it. I mean, that's rule number one in business, is you fake it till you make it. Pretend you're big, act like you're big. And when people say, oh, how big are you? You count everyone that you've talked to and you say, yeah, we're a big firm, or yeah, we're a growing firm. And you say plus 10 or plus 20 to whatever you really are, you're 20 people bigger than that. That's rule number one when you're in startup mode, right? Because no one wants to say, oh, we're a boutique consulting firm and we have one employee, me. That's not, no one, people raise right about, oh, well, you got this big web page. So I will say, and I readily admit, you fake it till you make it. And while you say, man, you seem so disciplined in coming out, I will tell you, Cal, I was disciplined in putting my story together. But what I didn't know was how to, when I had to go sell, how do I either write a proposal? How do I build a pricing? How do I do that? And how do I learn that? No one taught me that. And that was the one thing when I came out. And I kid myself, and I love telling this story, but when I came out and I had to do my first pricing proposal to a large business who wanted me on as a subcontractor, I had no clue how to do pricing. None. No idea. I knew overhead, G&A, fringe. I knew those were all terms, and I knew you had to calculate it, and I had spreadsheets, but I am not an accountant. I'm not an MBA. I've never run a $50 million business. So I had to figure out how do I do pricing. And I relied on resources and friends to coach me, and I asked a lot of questions. I was not afraid to say, hey, I have no clue how to do this. Can you show me? A whiteboard was my best friend, and an Excel spreadsheet and Google was my second best friend. And I wrote things down, and I figured it out, and I started playing with formulas. Before you knew it, I knew how to do pricing. I knew how to do spreadsheets. I knew how to figure out how to be frugal and attractive and competitive on pricing. And just learning from other business partners and being on teams and asking a lot of questions and building trust. On proposals, Cal, if I need to go back and look at the first proposal I ever wrote. It probably had 10 grammatical mistakes. I write like I talk, which is probably utter and complete disaster. The reason why the proposal team doesn't want me in the room writing. They want my thought, but then they want me to get out of the way. They don't want. I'm a good thought leader. I am not a good writer. I'm an idea guy, right?
Right.
So so those are the two things I'll say. I wasn't quite. What is define ready? Define ready to go, disciplined. You're never really ready. And when you think you're ready and someone says, oh, I'm going to wait for the right time. Okay, tell me what that looks like, because I don't know what the right time was. I happened to make the leap. And if I look back, it was crazy what I did. And borderline stupid, but I did it. But yeah, I literally, to rewind, how I funded the company, how we started the company was I left federal service, and you can appreciate this. You have leave, you bank some leave.
Mm-hmm.
I was dumb enough to believe that if I just cashed in my annual leave, I'd put that in the bank and I'd have $15,000 in the bank, and that would last me plenty of time to go start a business.
Wow.
Bad idea, but good idea, because I had enough drive and I got a win within, a few days coming out. I got a contract for consulting right away.
All right, hold on.
Yeah.
Now, how did you get that first contract?
Yeah, I was really, again, blessed, lucky, whatever you want to do, call it luck, call it, right place, right time. I had been out, and the one thing I did, and those of you who know me, and I think, Cal, you know this, I love LinkedIn. I love it. I'm on there all the time. If someone says I couldn't get a hold of you, I said, well, you didn't send me a LinkedIn message, because I'm on there all the time. You don't have to have my number. I'm on LinkedIn, and I'm on there every day, all day. So the one thing I did is I set a goal to really focus on how do I market myself and my industry credibility on LinkedIn before I left. Second was really figuring out how do I fund, how do I get this rolling. And when I was on this, I was doing a lot of public speaking in government, in conferences and in news shows and things like this. They were really good for public service. So when I came out, there was a handful of folks, and my phone rang and said, hey, I remember you. I went to this conference. We need an expert like you. So I was very fortunate that there was one group in particular. I won't showcase their name for privacy, but they gave me a shot. They called and said, we need you. Can you be a subject matter expert on this contract? And I said, yes. Cal, they could have told me I was washing dishes. My answer was yes. I knew what they were going to do. Why? Because I needed a contract. I needed money. I needed to make a living. So we did that. We delivered that for 5 months, and then turned it around to additional scope and additional items, using my expertise, figuring out, hey, look, I know, here's what I know. Here's how I can help you. And here's some things I think you can do to find some efficiencies based on what I know. So I was a billable consultant for the building people for the first 3.5 years, 4 years of business. I was still billable.
And you were in the prime or the sub position on that first requirement?
Sub. And I think,
okay.
Cal, I was maybe a third or fourth tier sub.
But this is good, because a lot of people have an expectation that as soon as they jump out, that they're going to get all these prime contracts. So I want to hone in on that a little bit if we can. So how did you find a sub partner?
To get that subcontract, really at that point, I was working the phone using my industry leadership and knowing what companies were out there, whether they were doing business in federal agencies where I had known relationships, and I'd work the phone. I will tell you, I ate and had a lot of coffee in the first 3 months of business. They say business development people eat and drink a lot. That's a true statement. So I ate and drank a lot, and I felt it. So I was out pounding the ground. I will say rarely in the first 4 to 6 months did I eat lunch alone any day of the week. I always had a lunch meeting. I always had a coffee meeting. I was pounding the ground, nice. Saying, hey, listen, I'm available. We're available. We can do this. I can help you. I didn't care how big or small the consulting opportunity was. At that point, you got to build credibility in the industry, not in government. And I got news for you. You're not going to get a prime contract. If anyone thinks they're going to get a prime contract, I'll say in the first 6 to 12 months is extremely rare, if not impossible. It took us, I want to say about 2.5 years, 3 years to get our first prime contract.
That's all. So this is great information, because again, this is a peek behind the veil, right? So you were pounding the pavement, right, and really trying to develop these relationships, reaching out to people that you knew, using LinkedIn to really give you a platform of or entree, I'd say, to the federal space. You got this subcontract opportunity. So you got one. How'd you get the second? And how did it kind of snowball to
Yeah.
a prime?
So that first one was a 5-month task order for that small consulting opportunity. It was enough to keep me busy about full time, but I had enough time to also work on the business behind the scenes. And look, as a business owner and startup, you're working 7 days a week, 24/7. So it seems, right? You're never really off. You're building infrastructure. You're building marketing plans. You're building slide decks. You're thinking through constantly, how do I grow this thing? What's my next win? Where do I go to the next win? So we had written, in working with that client for those first 5 months, we identified, while you're working the solution, we had identified 10 more problems that we knew were on their radar. And at the time, I knew we could create value. Myself and Linda Osgood was, as we affectionately saw, Linda was employee number 1 with us. She was a part-time employee, retired federal employee as well. She was working part-time with me, helping me out. We both came up with this list and we presented it to the federal customer through our partners. And they said, we've got to get these 2 done right now. And luck of the draw, right place, right time. It was September 25th or so. Everyone knows there's end of year money. And they said, hey, we're going to give you guys a task order to get this done. We got a 1-year period of performance. We need to get this thing done. Is it possible? We said, we're going to need every bit of 1 year to get it done. And it was a larger task order where we were both working almost full time on that project. And I will say, combined with that, I started to build some infrastructure about relationship management and how do I build a pipeline? How do I build other opportunities? And I remember saying to myself, I can't do this work and then concentrate on all these other conversations I'm having. And I remember creating a Google sheet of all the people I was talking to, all the companies, and then what I talked to them about. Suddenly that turned into a pipeline. Company, contact, what did I talk to them about? And I created just a spreadsheet of everything I was talking about. And I started to put them in buckets of how they aligned with our business. And I remember vividly looking at this Google sheet saying, okay, this is my target. This is my pipeline. I got to see who these people, if any of these people can use us as an expert. Combined with that, we started to look on the sam.gov and looking at opportunities were coming out. And we started looking at those places, but we didn't have, the tools and resources. I didn't have GovWin. We couldn't afford all the tools and resources you have for pipeline and growth where all these agencies are posting these opportunities. You can't afford that. Those are thousands of dollars. So I relied on the network. People say, hey, can you search for something for me and tell me if you find this? Or I heard about this. Is there an opportunity to team up? And luckily, we built a very robust pipeline at that point of opportunities over the next year at the same time. And when we got to year 3, we were on teams. We were teamed up. We had teaming agreements. We were writing proposals in true capture. And that year, we won 8 of the 10 opportunities that we had targeted, and we ended up with our first 6 employees on a professional services contract. And then we went, oh my God, now what do we do? I got to deliver. I got to hire them. Right. And that was the start, and we never looked back.
Wow. So so at that year 3, where you're really starting to get your feet wet, if you were talking to the younger Larry, what would you have said to that younger Larry that was just starting?
Stay positive. I will tell you, and look, if you're a business owner, Cal, and you're in startup mode, first of all, it's the loneliest place in the world. I'll go back to, I had a great career. I had a lot of friends in the circles and people I was really close to. Now, all of a sudden, you go from social interaction as an executive being around. At that point, I had hundreds of employees, resources at your disposal, whether it was admin support or leadership support to your right and left. You don't have that on day one. It is the loneliest place in the world for the first 2 years of business. So anyone that tells you that they didn't laugh and cry the same day in being in business is lying, because if you don't shed a tear, then you're not probably working hard enough. You're sitting around watching the paint dry. Well, I cried a lot. There was a lot of tears going, oh my gosh, what did I do? Why did I do this? Why is this so hard? I don't know how to do this. So you figured it out quick. But yeah, a lot of sleepless nights, and you just calibrate, keep focused.
That's awesome. That's awesome, because I know there might be someone under the sound of my voice that's thinking maybe this is the wrong way to go, right? Or maybe thinking maybe I'm doing something wrong, right? And there's a famous quote, right? If you're going through hell, just keep going, right? And
Yeah.
you'll get out of it eventually. And it sounds like that's what you're essentially saying. So now you're at the point where you've got a lot of sub work, right? And it's time now you've decided, it sounds like it's time now that you've decided that, okay, I need to try to get some prime work. How many bids did you put out there? Were you on GSA schedule? Did you do 8A? What was that process for you?
Great question. First thing we did is we said, all right, we knew we qualified for 8A, but we did not want to go after the 8A because I did some simple math. All right, what happens if you get a $4 million direct award and you have to hire employees, infrastructure, all the things that come with it, and then compliance starts really a little more complex for SBA compliance, right? Because that's part of the program. So I knew that was risky, and I had to wait until we had some wins under our belt, finances in, get the process of invoicing and contracts all under a process. So the first thing we did, we went after GSA schedule. That was the first thing we did. We were very fortunate, got it on GSA schedule I would say in less than 4 months, 4 or 5 months. I think it took us. We got on GSA.
And you must have had some inside baseball.
We got a little bit of help. Had a little bit of help. We kind of knew what we were doing. It did help. It did help. Again, 24-year federal career. I kind of knew how to write what they needed. Right. But I will tell you, if I knew then, Cal, I would probably be managing things differently on the federal side too. But the GSA schedule was instrumental to us, and the thought process there was simple. Let's go after that so that we have something to go to market with. We didn't have 8A, we didn't have HUBZone, we didn't have any of that. The second thing we did is I said, I didn't intend to go after the HUBZone program. I simply said, we're going to go do the HUBZone program because we knew we had a qualification, we qualified for it. So I said, let's try it. And we'll use that as a test bed to see how that goes from a marketing standpoint to federal agencies. We actually didn't get a HUBZone win for, I want to say, a couple years into the HUBZone program.
Wow.
And it was just sheer luck. A HUBZone opportunity came across schedule. We ended up bidding it. It was a quick turn, and we won it.
Wow.
But GSA schedule was the first prime contract we had. And then when we knew we still built some infrastructure, we had some credibility, we started building the roadmap to how and when do we go after the 8A program. And that was in December 2015. We started our application process. We got it done, and we got our 8A in about 27 business days. We got our 8A from SBA, which is record time.
So let me ask you. So it sounded like there was some logic behind the 8A, right? Because a lot of times I've talked to 8As and they they might have started a year ago or 2 years ago. But I meet companies all the time and they say, hey, Calvin, should I apply for 8A or should I do GSA schedule? I always say, well, how long have you been in business, right? Because I think what you're trying to say, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is relationships matter, right? And once you build those relationships, then it makes it easier to really leverage the 8A program. But you also said that it also makes it easier to leverage the GSA schedule, right?
That's right. Yeah, look, I mean, I talked about credibility, right? And here's the reality, and I think this is the good, bad, and the ugly is, there is also a mantra with all of us small 8A companies that people say, the first thing they say is, oh, Larry, what's your business? Oh, I'm an 8A. Whoop, stop, time out. You got that ball backwards. Let's try this again. Larry, what do you do? We're the building people. What do? You tell your story. Oh, and by the way, we're 8A. 8A is not the vehicle to get business. What is your value proposition? Sell your value proposition. Be credible. And then, oh, by the way, I'm 8A. I'm HUBZone. I'm on GSA schedule. Here's how you buy us. 8A is how you buy the services that you need. You don't buy 8A company. You don't buy 8A services, right? And I think that's the mantra where a lot of 8As and HUBZone and small businesses get it all wrong. I'm either social service disabled vet, 8A, HUBZone. It's the first thing they ask. That should be the last thing you say. So, and if you can't, then my challenge would be figure out what's your value proposition.
Yeah, that's powerful because at the end of the day, there's a technical requirement that you have to satisfy, right?
That's right.
I think it's important that your certification or your business type is really what's going to be the icing on the cake, right? Here's this technical solution that's awesome. You know, you get the oohs and ahs, and then here's the cherry on top, right? Because if you don't, I'll say if you gas them up, right, and you get them excited about about a technical capability, right, and then on the backside you make it really difficult to get to you,
Yeah,
more than likely it's not going to happen, right?
that's right. And you better have a story, you know, even get it on GSA schedule, understanding the diversity of the SINs and the NACS codes under the mass consolidation. Figuring all that stuff out is absolutely important, because you got to figure out, how do I differentiate myself? Why me and not them? That's the name of the game, right? There's how many companies on GSA schedule? Thousands.
Thousands,
Why
yeah.
me, not them? What's the delta? What's the difference?
So how many bids did you submit before you got your first one? Do you remember?
First prime contract?
Yep.
That was our first prime contract. We got lucky. We got on schedule, and we knew an opportunity was coming out, and the CEO said, it's going on schedule. And I said, could you please, I'm so close. I need like 7 days. I know it's coming. And
Wow.
I'm calling GSA saying, this opportunity is coming out. They said it's coming out on schedule. They know we're qualified. They know we're HUBZone. Can you please tell us when it's going to come? And they said, we're going to get it done in the next 48 hours. The opportunity came out. We were on schedule. They let us bid it while we were getting all of our other final compliance up, because we were officially on schedule, even though our stuff was not publicly posted. They allowed us to bid it because we were a bidder. And then I worked that while the bid was going in, and we won it. And it was the single award BPA with an agency. The way we wrote the scope and our services and our solution, I included every solution possible in that scope of work in our offer, with all the pricing. So they could come to us for just about any service and solution that the building people had at that point.
Wow. You talk about right place, right time, but I'm not going to say that, and I'm going to retract that, because you made the right relationships and the timing was right, right? If you didn't position yourself in that right place, in the place to be an awardee, it wouldn't happen. So I think that's the key, right? Relationships.
Yeah. And, you know, the contract vehicle, Cal, was secondarily to the conversation. In that case, in that first prime contract, I happened to run into a potential customer through another executive that saw me in the hallway of the federal building walking off the elevator. He said, you got facilities problems? He said, Larry, let me introduce you to Terry. He said, this is the guy you need to talk to. That small talk turned into 3 weeks of conversation, and 6 weeks later, we were in there doing work.
Wow. So, your first customer, how did you diversify, or have you been working with the same customer? Well, how kind of help us through that.
That customer from early 2015 is still our customer today.
Wow.
So 6 months later, we are still supporting them. Great customer, unbelievable track record and trust. I always say we are what we call in the trusted, valued relationship with that customer, when you know that you can kind of predict what their problems are going to be and you brainstorm. So we built credibility with that customer. And then the repeatable model came in. We said, you know, and we talked about this even as a team last week internally, about what was it in 2013 to 2016 we did to grow. And some of the things we said, let's go back to our roots. What was it? And it was that small sale, the small business development conversation we had of, you have a problem, let me help you with this small problem, and potentially it'll turn into something big. All I need to do is peel the onion back a little bit. You know, a lot of times everyone says, oh, I want the $4 million, I want the $10 million, I want the, $20 million win. I got news for you. That's not going to happen. Go get the $2,500 task order that you're going to get done in 2 weeks to build some credibility. I will tell you, at the Veterans Administration, we got a $2,500 task order on a credit card. That's how they bought $2,500. I wrote that past performance, Cal, and if you saw it today, you would have thought I had a $20 million strategic consulting contract the way we wrote that past performance. It's unbelievably well written, but it was a $2,500 task order.
But any past performance, any positive past performance is key, right?
100%. And you got to write your past performance while it's fresh in your mind. Tell your story while it's fresh in your mind. and don't be afraid of it.
So, so what was your strategy in terms of how to grow your trusted customer, your trusted partner? What did you do next to really continue to grow on this success?
We looked at other agencies that we knew had the same problems as the agency we were working in. We said, so we know that we knew the landscape. We knew that people were having real estate utilization. We knew that federal real property was in the crosshairs of every agency and Congress saying, how do we use real estate better? How do we maximize efficiency? So we knew there was problems in the business, in the industry, in the government portfolio. The question was, who did we go to? So we went to people that we knew. We went to known relationships, and we went to people that we knew would listen to us. Not every door opens as quickly as you think. But it's that one conversation, and then that one conversation turned into, you should talk to so and so. And when that happens, you got to move quick. You got to move quick, because if you don't, there's someone else in line in front of you. There's no sleeping in the first 5 years. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, and it sounds like one key takeaway is relationships, just like with anything, are born over time, right? You can't think that you're going to meet with someone one time and automatically they're going to give you something, right?
No, I actually frequently joke that it's called the rule of three. The first meeting is the meet and greet, and you tell them what you do. The second meeting is the same meeting, but you told them what you did. The third meeting, you told them the same thing you told them in the first meeting, and they say, why didn't you tell me that before? And you just look with dismay saying, well, what did I do wrong? Right? So yeah, it's frequently, we call it the rule of three. You're going to have 3 meetings with the client before they even give you a shot.
Wow.
And if you don't get the third meeting, then you probably are missing out on something, or you're not solving the problem, or at least dealing with the problems that they have.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. That's awesome. And so now the company, you're I guess this would be about 3, or it is about year 4, year 5, and the company's really growing.
Yeah.
Did you look back and say, holy cow, what happened here?
Well, the big thing was we got the 8A. We positioned a large pipeline at that point. We positioned for a mentor protege. We built a mentor protege. We went after a large opportunity. And the game changer was in late 2017. We had built that robust pipeline. And we thought, man, if we win this is crazy. But you won't win them all, right? Nobody could win. Look, a 25, 35% win rate would be fantastic. We had about 15 opportunities roughly, and we won. I want to say we had a 75% win rate. At the end of the fiscal year, we won a total of almost $70-80 million worth of work.
Wow.
All with the pipeline that we built, the capture we worked on, and it all hit at the same time. And we went, oh boy, that's crazy. So when you think about that and you say, okay, and this is the wherewithal we actually didn't even have at that point. You won it, and we all joked and said, well, now what do we do? And I said, well, we certainly better go deliver. But when you looked at it, and you looked at your waterfall, and you looked at the run rate of a 5-year contract, $70 million, you went, simple math tells you you're going to be a $10, $15, $20 million company in 2 years with the way the revenue is going to be working. And a lot of people, when I did that math, I said that something's got to be wrong. That was the real deal. At that point, it was, we better get our act in order. How do you build more infrastructure? And honestly, Cal, even then, I wasn't ready for what was coming. So you can't be agile enough, and be careful what you ask for, because you just might get it, is probably the name of the game. So, but it takes some energy.
Wow. So our time is almost short, but I want to. So we started with facilities, and what about the other part, right? What about the 2 other pillars, right? How did you introduce that into the environment, and how did you market those capabilities within the company?
Well, we always said in the buildings pillar, we innovate, operate, and adapt to the built environment, right? That's the buildings pillar. But we always said, technology, buildings, and people were the 3 pillars to really the future of real estate and the future of facilities. So we never really cared which pillar, so to speak, we fell into. We didn't care. We wanted to fall into one, and we said, you inherently, all 3 of them are integrated together, and it is a total solution. In order to provide a total solution to our customer, we really went from innovating, operating, adapting the built environment to how do we, on the people side, how do we optimize the workforce experience in the built environment? And the technology side, how do we connect, integrate, and automate the built environment? So, right, so you have a connection, you operate, and you optimize, right? So the three pillars of technology coming together and integrating, the buildings coming together to operate with operational efficiency, and then the most important piece is people, right? The people piece is the most important piece to any organization, right? Let's be real. That is the most important piece to an organization. In fact, I always said, and I said recently in our organizational offsite, if we treated people as an asset and not a cost, would our mindset be different in how we deliver our solutions or package our solutions? Think about that. People in a business are a cost. But what if you really thought about it as an asset, and how do I turn that asset into a total solution? And that's where the mind shift started coming together, where we drive people, technology, and buildings together to drive an organizational efficiency model of how people use real estate and facilities as a whole.
You said you started with 2 people, and how many you have now, you said?
200, and I'm going to need a cheat sheet. I'm going to need a shout out from our team, but I think we're just about 280 plus.
Wow.
And we have, I joked, I think I pushed it out on LinkedIn the other day. We had almost 70 job openings on our job board that are live openings. So we're off to the races. We're growing. We're excited. But, you know, the excitement comes with, just, I don't want to say chaos, but it's a little bit of scratching and clawing and chaos, because last time I checked, I've never run a $50 million business before, and all of a sudden you're running a $40, $50 million business, right?
That's amazing. That's amazing. So what's the special secret sauce that you would just tell everybody if someone is really trying hard in this government space, this FedCon space? What is the one thing you would leave with them?
You know, I'm going to steal my line from my good friend Walter Bond, who former NBA player, motivational speaker. I'll give him props publicly here. But Walter Bond was someone I got to meet in early 2010, and he kind of nudged me to go out. And actually, we had him come back and help us tell my story to our employees about what started the Building People. So if you get a chance, look up Walter Bond. He's awesome. WalterBond.com. And Walter said to me, you know, Larry, you've got something special. You've got a passion. You've got energy. Keep going. Keep doing it. Go follow it. Go follow your dreams. Go do it. You can do this. But he said, he always had a line. And he said, remember this: don't be arrogant. Be confident. Don't be arrogant. You know, because arrogance is confidence out of control, as he always says. So I always remember that. And remember, when you're starting a business, sometimes you can come across as, I'll say, is either too salesy or trying too hard. Don't try too hard, but try hard enough. But remember, sometimes you don't have to sell as hard as you think. People like to buy credibility, so be credible.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And Larry, we are at time. It went fast, didn't it?
It did. Yeah.
It goes by fast. It goes by super duper fast. If you guys, I always say this is a great way to connect. So if you guys want to connect with each other, drop your emails, drop your contacts. Larry, thank you so much.
Thanks a lot. You and Gabby.
I really appreciate your being open. I appreciate your sincerity, and your genuineness. This is fantastic.
Thanks to everybody. I really appreciate it. And again, thanks to the big DOE opportunity to be in front of you guys today.
Yeah, no problem. Gabby, are you going to come back to the floor?
I'm here. Hi. Well, thank you so much to both of you for having this interview today. If Larry is willing, we may be having a follow-up interview with him. If anyone knows anyone who would be interested in speaking on the show, or if you have any questions or anything else that you'd like to see, please reach out to us. We do want your feedback. And our email, if you didn't know, I'm going to put it in the chat, but it's small.business@ed.gov. So you all have a wonderful rest of your day and a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks.